lot. She can't shout, so please come in closer.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you know what it's like to be jolted awake by a piercing siren? To grab your kids from their room and run downstairs to a safe room? Or to run with your kids from the car to the nearest shelter? Until last month, I didn't either. You run, you pull the steel doors shut, and you wait. You wait for the boom, which means that the Iron Dome has intercepted the rocket. And then you're supposed to wait 10 minutes to make sure that the falling debris hits the ground before you go outside. I was never scared per se, but I'd check with my husband before I drove somewhere so he'd know where I was. And we mostly stopped going out to the park or the beach, just in case. I live on a moshav near Tel Aviv. In fact, probably the only reason we had code reds was because we live near the international airport and near Tel Aviv. And I'll be honest, we never had a day with more than 2 or 3 code reds. In Hebrew it's called Tseva Adom. In comparison to what towns and kibbutzim around Gaza have experienced over the past 13 years, it was nothing. But it was a taste of what's to come. Over the past 13 years, Hamas's capabilities have increased dramatically. The original Hamas rocket, the Qassam, has a range of 17 kilometers. Now Hamas has warheads with ranges of up to 160 kilometers, which is how Hamas is able to target Tel Aviv, Haifa, and even Hebron in Jerusalem. This is why it's not just Sderot anymore that's under constant attack, but Ashkelon and Ashdod, which are only half an hour from my house. My kids started playing a game called Tseva Adom, and they make siren noises. Trust me, if you think whining and tantrums are bad, you've never heard kids pretend to be sirens. Before we left for Ottawa, one of my girls wouldn't walk further than 2 blocks from our house, just in case there would be a siren. Every evening before bed, our older girls would ask, but what if there's a siren and I'm on the toilet, or in the bathtub? What if? What if you're driving, or in the shower, or at work, or the dentist? Or what if you're elderly or disabled? What do you do then? Thank God my government had the foresight to invest in the development of the Iron Dome and its first batteries, and the American government has provided support for further batteries. Without the Iron Dome, this past summer would have been unbearable. The Iron Dome provides psychological and physical protection, and it made July possible to live. Throughout the war, I couldn't help think of the civilians in Gaza. If my kids were scared by the rockets, my kids who have a safe room to go to, who have the best military technology protecting them, how terrified must kids in Gaza be? And their parents? How as a parent do you cope when you can't protect your children? We were devastated by the kidnapping and murder of Naftali Frankel, Gilad Sal, and Eyal Yifrach, and we were frustrated and angry because Hamas forced another war. But the sadness is despair. That was for the terror of Israelis in the south, the soldiers who died, and for the people in Gaza. This war isn't, or maybe wasn't, I don't know if it's really in the past tense, a war that could be won. Most of the tunnels were destroyed, but they'll be rebuilt. Hamas will come back in 6 months or a year, maybe 2 if we're lucky, and will terrorize us again. And the IDF will protect us, but more people, soldiers, civilians, will die. I don't see the end to it. Our soldiers and pilots are incredible. They're brave, moral individuals who fight to protect our homes and families, and who know they may make the ultimate sacrifice. And I don't want any more of them to die. Throughout July, there are bright spots. In times of trouble, the unity of Israelis is breathtaking. Citizens who volunteered to help women whose husbands were on reserve duty. Tens of thousands of people who attended the funerals of lone soldiers. Thousands of people who offered to host families from the south. Civilians who collected food, toiletries, clothes, or set up makeshift showers for or provided generators to charge cell phones for the soldiers who were serving down in Gaza. This unity, although it resulted from the war, it did serve to remind us that we Israelis, and that means all Israelis, Jews and non-Jews, are in this together. In spite of the condemnation we constantly receive from the rest of the world, we know we are in the right, and we will not be cowed by terrorists or the UN or anti-Semites the world over. On our first day in Ottawa, one of my daughters noted that in Canada there are no code red alarms. And on Saturday night, I heard the popping of fireworks, and all of a sudden I felt incredibly anxious. And I wondered, for the umpteenth time, how people in the South manage. I wonder how we'll manage. The point is that we have to manage. Israel is our home. It's my home. It's all of our homes. And its existence is a fact. We will protect ourselves, but the cost for us is really high. I hope and pray that quiet will prevail and we can return to normal lives. I pray for the family who've lost loved ones, and I hope we'll only know peace.